So we're back at it, and this time we got illusion creation, pheromone control, golden touch, and negative emotion absorption. There were a lot of debate about these four over on TikTok and IG, but now I'm asking you, which superpower would you choose? Let's go over the powers and how useful they are in today's world, how much of a threat you would be, and if you need a secondary power to safely use it. Now, first off is illusion creation, the power to create false perceptions and alter the way others experience reality.
This can involve manipulating senses, creating false sensory experiences, and potentially even creating physical illusions that affect the environment.
But how useful is it in today's world? This is basically the legal way to send someone on an acid trip, but for profit. You could run an illusion circus or advertise a 5D no VR experience, run a calming places spa for detox, or handle the visual efforts for a rave and a killer DJ set. Throw the ultimate birthday party for toddlers with their favorite characters. Produce a play, the list is endless.
But what about if you are evil?
We can't give the gooners any ideas, and I need to keep this kid friendly.
I know what type of man you are.
But what about countermeasures? What's a power that would be a natural counter to it? Illusions at its core play with the perceptions in our five senses, so natural counters would be someone with enhanced senses, awareness, clairvoyance, psychic immunity, resistance, anti-magic, and many more. But guess what? In our world,
You more than likely won't run into anyone with any countermeasures.
but what are the drawbacks of this power? What other powers are safely needed to have this? Outright, it doesn't have immediate drawbacks unless, depending on how you create the illusions. If it's an ability you have, then I imagine fatigue from usage. So basically, stamina and endurance.
But if it's purely tech-based,
The main drawback would be how you deploy it and the power to sustain it. Using most versions of Mysterio, he used advanced tech to create the illusion, and if the source is busted, then the show is over.
should have kept to his notebook.
I don't know if this would count as a power or just a skill issue, but creativity. If you have a horrible imagination and can't think of much to create, then your illusions will be sleep-inducing at best, and that's if you're a good or a bad guy. Now, with that being said, what type of threat could you be? When talking about powers like this, I view it from the point that these skills can be trained up and expanded upon. But with illusions, this will depend on how much of a range you have. If you could affect the space of a gym, then you're not even block level.
When you can't even be a neighborhood menace.
Now, with enhancements through tech or just an anime montage, you could at the most scale up to state level, stretching it by saying continent, and that's being generous.
Well, technically, one could easily be a global threat through a series of targeted moves like manipulation of global leaders, economic disruption, social chaos and instability, erosion of trust, and psychological warfare.
Okay, I stand corrected. Global at the highest. But next up we have pheromone control, the ability to generate, manipulate, or control pheromones, which are chemical signals that can affect the behavior and emotions of others.
This power allows the user to influence a target's thoughts, actions, or even their psychological state through the release of pheromones.
So how useful is it in today's world? Well, you are a professional gaslighter that doesn't need words to get your way, so getting a favorable outcome in any situation is yours for the taking. You pretty much won't need a job since you can inspire people to pay for you or just forget to charge you for anything to begin with.
There is almost no ethical way to use this and claim you are still a good person.
Yes, you are essentially robbing people of free will to do what you want. Purple Man would be a great example of this, and he deserved to be put on a watch list.
The temptation to explore your deepest thoughts is one most humans wouldn't be able to fight. So don't worry, you are all monsters at heart.
But what about countermeasures? What's a power that would be a natural counter to it?
Anyone with psychic abilities that can prevent their mind from the influence and abilities that could keep the pheromones from reaching you. Anyone with an immunity ability or a neutralizing one. And let's not forget, a simple gas mask could do the trick.
So you might say it looks easy to deal with, but look at characters like Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew, who used her pheromones on the Hulk and made him make her a sandwich.
Told him to get that green booty in the kitchen.
So definitely not a power to scoff at. But what are the drawbacks to this power, and what do you need to make up for it?
Pheromones are often species-specific, meaning the pheromones of one species might not affect others.
So let's add a universal effect. That way a random animal doesn't shrug off and just jump us. To reduce friendly fire, I would say targeted pheromones, or else you would just get everyone within breathing distance. Duration control would be a must because you don't know how long it would last naturally at first, and you should be able to cancel it immediately if you want to, or keep it extended if you want to. Biggest thing is make it not affected by environment, so maybe have the option to make it frequency based instead.
Yes, because pheromones are airborne and therefore susceptible to environmental factors. Strong winds or good ventilation can disperse and dilute pheromones, significantly reducing their effectiveness.
So, for example, how the purple man can control you through audio means is a good example of something better than pheromones. Now, what type of threat would this make you? The potential is unlimited since you could gain the control of powerful figures, just like with illusions, but no trickery, just obedience. So definitely global, and only reason I'm not giving it cosmic is because the biology of many other species may not respond to it. So you would have to use the slower method and use the controlled empire you have grown to take them over the old-fashioned way.
That's what we plan on doing.
Say what?
Moving on.
Next, we have golden touch.
But we will add to the rule that the power can be turned on and off. You have to be touching something for a few seconds for it to fully turn into gold, and you can make it crumble.
Now, for this power's usefulness, you can turn anything to gold. You don't need a job or to be evil. Just touch anything and sell it. Being able to cast anything to gold is the rich version of Medusa's turning things into stone.
Not even nice stone at that.
You can easily become the richest person alive and be the first to have a complete gold kingdom. But what about countermeasure? What's a power that would be a natural counter to it?
Any ability that can nullify, negate, warp, make intangible, or immunity to physical attacks.
If they have the power of the no-no square, then they can counter you. But what about drawbacks? None. The power doesn't seem to come at a high cost, other than maybe you having enough power and energy to use it. It could cause social anxiety at the most because now you don't know who is around for you or because you're a walking gold bank. Now, what type of threat would this make you? Well, if you look at it from just the wealth you amassed, you could say global, but you could argue that making so much gold could lower the value of it since before there was a finite amount.
But if you look at it from purely a threat level, from usage of the power, you would have to bring the scaling down quite a bit, since it would be more realistic to say you can only affect a small area with your touch, unless enhanced otherwise.
So let's put you at a neighborhood menace, but hey, at least you're increasing the property value. Now next we have negative emotion absorption.
The ability to absorb and potentially neutralize or repurpose negative emotions from others.
Now I know most of you are about to type, with that power I would be a god. Well, let's just scale down the human ambitions first, for the power's usefulness.
You can easily assist your fellow man in a therapeutic sense and excel in anger management, riot de-escalation, hostage negotiation, office disputes, and this is without even raising a fist.
Now, on the flip side of it, how useful are the results of the absorption? Most depictions show that it comes with increased strength, energy release, a healing boost, and a speed boost. So jobs, this can pretty much help you excel in any field you go into. So pretty limitless, with the added bonus of you being able to make any work environment a positive one.
Or at least a productive one.
But what are the drawbacks?
While beneficial for others, it has several potential drawbacks for the user.
Yeah, you could suffer from emotional overload, contamination, personality changes, and difficulty processing personal emotions. And that's not even covering with all that it could do to you physically or how you could easily get addicted to the negativity. So for other powers to help fight these drawbacks, firstly, increase capacity because no one wants to see what a negative bomb looks like. Manipulation of emotion would help tons. Empathic healing could fix the damage from being a beacon for negativity. Negation or suppression when you just want to turn it off. But for a less addicting solution,
Aura manipulation would allow you to create a barrier from it all, or mental shielding would give you a defense on a psychic level.
yeah, this power isn't for the unstable, which plays into your threat level. If we use the logic, the more you use it, the stronger you grow.
A human constantly surrounded by negativity would become a continental threat quickly.
Yes, unfortunately, we mostly identify with negativity as a race, and there are some places in America that are downright more negative than others. Heck, some of you live in an overly negative household.
Someone is projecting.
Anyway, what I'm getting at, your power would be put to use or tempting the majority of the day. So it's a muscle that is constantly flexing. So it's not a matter of if you can get to global. It's a matter if you are still sane or not by the time you do it.
Unless you are faced by the Escanor that can't feel hate towards you because you are weaker.
With all the pros and cons laid out for each,
Which superpower would you choose?